Ladies and gentlemen, the Mac is back. That's right, after 5 years away from the octagon, the biggest name in MMA, the one, the only, the notorious Conor McGregor will be making his return finally July 11th at UFC 329 against everyone's favorite Hawaiian skateboarder, Max Blessed Holloway.
The world knows this is unfinished business. If he doesn't want to engage in it, that's on him. That looked like Max Holloway going by on a skateboard there. That was Max Holloway on a skateboard.
Now, looking at this matchup for Conor's return, there is one question on everyone's mind. Is he f***ed? Well, assuming this fight, actually happens, the answer to that question is a hard maybe, or I should say a hard probably. I mean, history tells us Conor's probably not going to win this fight. More often than not, when top-level fighters take long layoffs, they do not find success upon their return to the cage, with prime examples such as Henry Cejudo, who famously left the sport at his peak as a double champion just to come back out of retirement 3 years later, only to go 0-4. Fighters like Stipe Miocic, Cain Velasquez, and Chuck Liddell, all former UFC champions that took a multi-year hiatus from competition, only to find themselves on the wrong end of a knockout when they returned to the cage. I mean, we just saw Conor's former foe Nate Diaz make his long-awaited return to MMA competition this weekend on the Netflix card against the far less elite Mike Perry, and well, Mike beat the brakes off Nate. And this ain't Mike Perry Conor's coming back to fight. This is Max Jerome Holloway. But look, not all is bleak for the McGregor fan base, or whatever is left of it in 2026. We do have some examples, albeit they are certainly the minority of cases, where fighters were able to take several years away from competition and come back at peak form and go on to even win UFC titles. Most notably, Georges St. Pierre and Dominic Cruz, two men that left on top and eventually came back to not only win in the UFC, but win championships. But guys, these success stories are not the norm. They are few and far between. And let's be honest, Conor did not leave on top like Dom Cruz and GSP did. Conor left off the back of two brutal stoppage losses, one being his only true knockout loss and the other being that infamous leg snap in the trilogy with Dustin Poirier. And while I'm not entirely sure what Conor's been up to for the last 5 years, how in and out of the gym he's been and how seriously he's been taking training, I can pretty much guarantee you he has not been living a monk-esque style like GSP was during his hiatus. So perhaps a more apt comparison would be to his fellow skiing enthusiast, one Jonathan Jones. Perhaps the only man who has proven you can take time away from this sport, party like a rock star, come back at a new weight class, and dominate at the top level. Although when it comes to rock star lifestyles, Conor McGregor and Jon Jones are pretty different. Conor reminds me of AC/DC or maybe Lemmy from Motorhead, while Jon Jones has got more of a Freddie Mercury vibe. But on a serious note, I mean, can he get it done? Can Conor McGregor capture lightning in the bottle again? It's really hard to compare Conor to any other fighter. He is Mystic Mac. He is the one, the only, the truly notorious Conor McGregor. So anything is possible, but I mean, the UFC's not really doing him any favors with this matchmaking. While Conor's been out, cocaine maxing, Max Holloway's been carving out legacy in the UFC, racking up 5 wins in his 8 fights since Conor's last fight, fighting for undisputed gold not once but twice, and even winning a fake belt, which he defended once against the aforementioned Dustin Poirier. Max also delivered the most cinematic ending to a fight, the most movie ending to a fight we have ever seen at UFC 300 over Justin Gaethje, who is about to fight for a title in his own right, and has been active in the sport, fighting 5-round fights, fighting in these main event spots. So yeah, this ain't 2020 Donald Cerrone, who never really could step up in the big spots, who didn't perform well under the bright lights. This ain't a washed-up 40-plus-year-old George Masvidal or an 8-loss streak Tony Ferguson they're bringing him back against. They're not bringing him back against the corpse of Nate Diaz. This is one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Hell, one of the greatest fighters of all time. A for sure future Hall of Famer in Max Holloway, who may not be in his prime at this point, but is still certainly a top-level fighter who is competing in the top level of the hardest weight classes in the UFC. And speaking of weight classes, this fight is not at 145 pounds, not at 155, but 170 pounds. So this will truly be Maximus Holloway getting in that cage at UFC 329. And I think it's interesting that this fight is at welterweight. This is a rematch between two featherweight champions 13 years later, up 2 weight classes. I don't know if we've ever seen another rematch like this one. It is quite unique. And if there are any positives for Conor McGregor with that 5 years of inactivity from fighting, he has certainly been able to throw on some more muscle, some more size. So maybe this is the idea with the 170-pound booking. It's intentional to try to give Conor a bit of a size advantage over Max, who might not have had time to build his frame into this weight class. I mean, whatever your take is on this fight, I think we can all agree Dana and the UFC brass would rather see Conor McGregor win. A Conor win means more Conor fights, whereas a one-sided ass beating, courtesy of Max Holloway, might spell the end of McGregor's fighting career. And Conor's been talking about competing at welterweight for a while now. We all remember the funny clips of him trolling Mike Chandler on The Ultimate Fighter, talking about fighting at welterweight.
185. You want to do 185? I'll do 185. You'll do what you're told. I'm going to pin you.
And speaking of Michael Chandler, I hope someone checks on him. That dude's got to be seething right now at this announcement.
Gotta get something off my chest.
What?
I got one dude on my mind. Conor McGregor.
See you later, gay boy.
But yeah, back on topic. I don't like this matchup for Conor. I really feel like they could have given him an easier comeback fight, something a bit more appropriate for a dude who hasn't fought in 5 years. This fight is eerily similar of that rematch with Poirier. You know, Conor McGregor rematching someone he beat a very long time ago at featherweight, an event set up by the UFC in an attempt to build Conor back up, maybe get him back into a title picture situation. But this time, Conor won't be the favorite coming into the fight. At opening odds, McGregor's over a 3-1 dog. And we saw this with the Poirier fight. McGregor's psychological advantage, that mystique, the aura for lack of a better term, it's not really there anymore. It didn't translate into a victory against Dustin Poirier, and I don't think it's going to be much of a factor here. McGregor-Holloway 1 happened 13 years ago on a Fox card, headlined by Chael Sonnen and Shogun Rua. Just looking at this fight, you can see how old it is by the fact these dudes still have their own sponsors on their fight shorts. Max was only 21 years old for this fight. It was Conor's second UFC fight, and he won a lot of this fight off of his wrestling since he tore his ACL early in the fight. So even though these guys have fought before, you can't really put a ton of stock into that first matchup. And something that has changed since then is the durability of these two fighters. We've seen Conor take a knockout loss, and as much as I like to black out what happened at 308, both in the co-main and the main event, the facts are the facts. Ilia Topuria managed to do what 27 other UFC opponents couldn't do to Max Holloway, and crack that infamously iron chin of his. Now, I'm not here to tell you that 2026 Conor McGregor is anywhere near the level of Ilio.
Toro, top Toro.
In fact, I'd go as far as to say that in comparison to Top Turo, Conor's currently on the bleeding lower level.
The moon is on the bleeding low level. It's like the sphere. It's like I'm looking at the sphere, yeah?
But at 170 pounds, boy, that left hand's gonna have some steam on it, especially early in this fight. And while Conor hasn't been active, that also means he hasn't been racking up damage. Max has had 8 fights in the last 5 years while Conor's been out on his yacht. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and what kind of McGregor we see on July 11th. Again, assuming this fight does actually happen, which I think it will. A lot of people seem to think Conor's like a pull-out merchant now, and there have been some issues with getting him back into the cage, but he really hasn't actually pulled out of many fights once they've been booked. I think that's only actually happened once. There's just been a lot of rumors that don't end up happening with McGregor. I'm certainly leaning towards a Max Holloway TKO pick as of right now, but if Jackie Moon and the Flint Tropics could prove everyone wrong and win the Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl, anything's possible. Who knows? Especially in a sport as crazy as MMA. So I, for one, will not be counting out Conor McGregor in this fight. Let me know your early prediction down in the comment section below for Holloway McGregor 2, and let me know if you think this fight will actually happen. Thanks for watching, and until next time.
Look at the moon. The phone's it's not doing it justice.